Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to another Journey to Authentic Living video. I'm Sandra Rojo, Success Mindset Coach, and I have here a very good friend of mine and colleague, Shihadeh, and he's a law of attraction expert and also a FasterEFT practitioner. And we both have businesses, as you probably know, and you might remember Mark from a previous recording that I had with him. Mark, what was it? Probably a year and a half ago, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And this is a continuation, and hopefully we will be inspired to record more videos with you all. So welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good
So this
to
is going to be a free-flowing conversation, right?
It totally is. Impromptu kind of thing. We're just going to go with it.
Okay.
And of course, our listeners, if you always have a question or you want us to expand on something that we didn't during the video, please let us know in the comments, and we can always create another video from that or just answer it right then and there. Is that cool with you as well, Mark? Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah.
All right. So I want to begin with, Mark has really been, I've been so impressed with Mark. And some of you remember that I was about 15 years ago, I started with the Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction, and was just disenchanted with how to do it. I would do exactly, or so I thought I was doing exactly what the books were saying and what all these law of attraction techniques. And I just felt like it didn't work. Some things would manifest and then it would just go south. And so I pulled away from that world. And in fact, in our last recording, I even think I said I was a little bit bitter about the law of attraction.
You did, yeah.
And so here we are. And I want to begin by saying that I have a complete different perspective on the law of attraction, thanks to Mark for really helping me a lot. I've had sessions with him as well. And then, of course, FasterEFT, Utaptic's creator, Robert Gene Smith, has been a great influence on both of us, and especially when it comes to really understanding the law of attraction. I think he too is an expert in that. And I recently signed up for his course, Manifesting Your Goals into Reality, using his process called the Ultimate Manifestation Process. And I thought that was very interesting. And it just ties into what Mark is doing in his work with his clients and so forth. So shout out to Robert. And I'm sure we'll have an interview. Maybe the three of us can engage in an interview, follow up, and get his intake and get maybe his input as well. On the law of attraction.
One thing I loved about Robert's work is when I first discovered it, I was deep into the law of attraction, and his foundation was law of attraction. Like he had,
totally.
Yeah, he had a list of, I can't remember he doesn't use these anymore. But it was a set of beliefs, and they were very law of attraction. And he talks a lot about a law of attraction. So that's the first thing that I liked about it. Now, not to mention how he talks about the mind and how our past experiences affect what we believe and what we hold on to, and it affects what we attract. So that's the thing that. So I believe that FasterEFT is a great tool, is the best tool out there to allow the law of attraction to work in our lives. That's what I like to say a lot.
Me too. And that's where I want to piggyback on the fact that I've turned this whole perspective on the law of attraction. I just love it now because I'm understanding it. And I think I'm also ready for it. I've been contemplating about it as I've, of course, practicing FasterEFT as well in my life and sort of cleaning my mind. And we can talk a little bit about that. That's a term that Robert uses when we're doing the practice of FasterEFT, going into our memories and rewriting them and so forth. And I just have a completely different point of view. Like now I'm creating affirmations for myself. I mean, I used to have them like in my head, but now, goals are just, I have them, but I'm not always like writing them down because I kind of believe also in surrendering to it. So it's not like, it has to be achieved by 2 weeks, kind of situation.
Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
you feel about that? About the goals?
Yeah, goals and affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
It can be super tricky because it's, well, Robert would say, affirmations are anything that we affirm. So we think of affirmations of saying positive things to ourselves, but lots of times subconsciously we are affirming negative things or limiting things, and lots of times unknowingly. So I like to think of affirmations and even goals as a little bit older self-help. And then there's now new, like Robert's information and new, even higher learning law of attraction information that we can use to improve our affirmations and our goals. So for example, affirmations. So let's say let's say I'm trying to pay rent and I want to make a lot of money. And so I want to be able to, let's say I'm not making enough money and I'd like to attract more money in my life, let's say. And so I want to affirm. So the old way of affirming affirmations is saying something positive 50 times, 20 times every day, repeating
I
it.
remember.
I will receive $10,000 in the next 3 months, or next 2 months or every month. And now, if I have a lot of beliefs against that, so if I have so many different experiences in my past about money, if I watched my parents struggle with money, if I've had issues with my own issues with money, my own experiences where, let's say I've, tried to use a law of attraction and it didn't work. And I have these, let's say, limiting experiences and beliefs attributed to money. So I can say that affirmation over and over and over again, but I'm actually fighting against those limiting negative experiences. So with FasterEFT, what we like to do is first tap on those, tap on and change and rewrite the negative experiences and beliefs about money. And then when we do that, affirmations work wonderfully, right? Because then we're not contending with the limiting and negative experiences and beliefs.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? What's your experience with that?
Well, that's why I love FasterEFT. And before I didn't realize I was getting into a modality that would do exactly what you're saying. And it made it so much easier. I'm a very logical person and I'm very pragmatic. And so for me, I need something that's not going to be so woo-woo, so esoteric, where I'm unable to reach that. And it's like, so for me, what you just described I'm really excited. So I don't know, you can just see it in my face. I'm just like really excited about this new perspective that Robert has given us with FasterEFT and affirmations. And even though I've been studying, I started with FasterEFT like 3 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get into, the studying with the courses and all that until later.
Mm-hmm.
But watching his videos and things like that, I never really correlated, and I just wasn't, I don't know if I was ready. I don't know. I was just so disenchanted with law of attraction stuff. But he doesn't even, well, from what my experience is, Robert doesn't even say like law of attraction. He'll just say, manifestation or manifesting.
He used to a lot.
He used to. Okay.
A lot, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not a very big fan of he's not very big fan of a lot of stuff that are out there because I think he knows that it doesn't work precisely because of what you just got done saying. And I also believe that as well. When there's resistance. Yeah.
That, and I think he just wants it to be very logical and scientific and, not as woo-woo. And so, but that's right. Yeah. And, like The Secret. So there's law of attraction, the law of attraction is like anything. There's people who teach it and I think teach it well and quote unquote use it well. And then there's people who maybe don't understand it as good as others under higher understandings of it. So The Secret, the Secret, maybe lots of times people would want to use the law of attraction in manifesting material things or out of a neediness. So that part, I don't think a lot of us don't like that kind of way of thinking and using the law of attraction. I mean, it's fine. Material things are great, but I think a lot of people missed the point. A lot of people saw The Secret and they got excited and they want to attract a red Porsche.
I didn't like The Secret. I admit I was turned on. I bought the CDs back in 2006 when they first kind of came out, or a year after they came out. I don't remember, but I remember because I was living in Texas and that was 2006. And I listened to it and I was kind of turned off by that materialism thing. And again, I'm like you, there's nothing wrong with materialism. We all are materialistic in some form or shape. So nothing against that, but
yeah. And, you know, I mean, there was a lot of great things in it too. And it introduced the world to the law of attraction and to,
That's a great point.
Yeah, absolutely. And people found Abraham Hicks through The Secret. And I think Abraham Hicks is the, one of the best teachers out there for the law of attraction. So,
yeah. And you remind us again, you got involved with the law of attraction when, more or less?
Oh my God, so long ago.
It's like,
well, we're talking late 80s, because my aunt sent me a tape of Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
You know, and it had it was The Art of Allowing, and different tapes. And so I kind of listened to that, studied it, and then I realized that, oh, this is channeling. This is weird. I was in my 20s.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me about the channeling part. Yeah, you're
channeling's weird. But then the information was so good. The information was so amazing. So I just suspended disbelief as far as whatever. Like, even if it's even if I don't even believe in this channeling, even if it's weird for me, I'm just going to soak up the information. And so that's what I wanted to do. And that's when I set out to kind of master the information, because like you, Sandra, a lot of us, you know, when we first learned it, we tried to manifest things and we tried to, you know, make things happen. A lot of us got frustrated with it. Right. Yeah. So when I tried to manifest things and it didn't work, I just thought, okay, I need to study this more. I want to learn, you know, the nuance of how to master this.
Right.
So that's what I set out to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's really interesting. Well, I grew up with a very, free thinker. You know, my mother was very much of a free thinker. Well, both of my parents were. And so my mom was, even though I kind of grew up Catholic and stuff, they were just very progressive with and very spiritual. So we started out with more like New Thought. And I think we talked about it last time. Right. So the Terry Cole Whitaker we actually literally go see her. She was Reverend Terry Cole Whitaker here in San Diego. But yeah, I mean, it's, I guess I just didn't always understand it myself, you know, and I'm so glad that I do. And I understand that we have to knock out our resistances on things, you know, and I think that's just success, because we do have a lot of impediments. We have programs that are running that we learned from our parents, we learned from our caregivers and our society, and maybe even our religion, right? I mean, there's all these conditions. So as soon as I started to see, oh, okay, now I know why I have this limiting belief, or, oh, now I know why I couldn't manifest X, Y, Z, or why I am attracting something that I don't want to attract. Right. It's because, you know, it's what's going on in the program to keep me safe.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a big thing. Okay. So if we talk about affirmations and goals, so lots of times people will use affirmations to fulfill their goals, right? I want to make I want to, you know, affirm, I want to attract $10,000 in 3 months or whatnot. That can be a goal or an affirmation.
Right. Yeah.
So my way of thinking of it is this. It's really what's behind, you know, let's say goal, the intention. And the intention is really important, right? Are we intending something to fill a need? Like, so let's talk about if I was alone and I wanted to attract a girlfriend, or if I wanted to attract money, or if I wanted to attract better health. So what position am I setting my goals, or am I affirming from? Am I affirming, do I want a girlfriend because I'm lonely and I'm needy and I'm not complete without a girlfriend? Well, if I try to, let's say, use a law of attraction or do affirmations or set a goal based on that, it's really working counter to how the law of attraction works. If I'm setting out a neediness feeling out there to the universe, then I'm just going to get back more examples of being needy, of like maybe people me going to clubs or bars, trying to meet girls, and I'm detracting them, let's say. And so then I'm going to be more needy. So the idea, there's an idea of when you talked about surrendering, and allowing the situation that we are currently in, making peace with the situation. So I'm alone.
Right.
So do I want to solve my problem by finding a girlfriend, or do I want to learn how to kind of be cool with myself, to love myself, to like my own company, to do things, that I enjoy doing. So now if I do that and I'm okay being alone, I'm okay. Oh yeah, I find hobbies, I find groups, I find things to do, and I work on myself. Let's say I tap on myself and I tap on my loneliness and tap on my self-worth and how I feel about myself and all those things. Can be a big project. Well, then I'm coming from a place of, I like myself now. Now, setting a goal or affirmation from that intention or that space is a whole different place. And that's when the law of attraction can really work. So I think of it as priorities of what to do first. If I have a goal, well, something I think I have to do before that goal. And that is to, again, be okay with where I am in the beginning and be okay with my situation, surrender, let go, and trust. Now, that also means that doesn't mean sit around and not do anything. That also means, act on your inspiration instead of acting on neediness, right? So, acting on neediness might be, I want to go I need to find that girl. So I need to go to a bar and meet somebody. And everyone feels this creepy vibe from me and they want to get away from me, right? So acting from a need is, everyone can feel that, versus acting from, I want to go and meet people and have good experiences. I already like me. I already like being by myself. I think finding a girl would be funner. Boom. That's the kind of intention where the law of attraction can contribute to and work with.
And, I love the way you explain that. And do you find that the first step,
right,
what you just said, being okay with where you're at?
Yes.
Do you find that step in your clients and even in yourself difficult?
There's a lot of resistance to it.
There's a lot of resistance to that first step.
Because it seems, there's a lot of reasons, but it seems like settling. Like if I'm lonely and broke, by me saying, "Oh, I'm okay with being lonely and broke," it sounds like I'm surrendering. It sounds like I'm settling for where I am.
Got it.
But right? But it's kind of the opposite. It's also saying, okay, here's where I am. And I can, again, this is what I love about tapping. I can tap on how I feel about where I am.
Yes.
And then you get to a place where, okay, here's where I am. And where I am is just fine. And now doesn't mean I want to stay where I am. It means I'm fine with where I am. And I would like these things instead of, my life sucks. I'm desperate. I need money and I need a girl. That's not being fine with where you are. And the law of attraction is just going to give you more of that. So there's a lot of resistance and understanding, because this is what's your experience?
No, I think that's really good. And I'm glad you said that, so that people out there that are watching this don't feel defeated immediately, because that first step can be a little bit challenging. One of the things that I learned, of course, a lot about my personal life, my journey. One of the things that I did, because I've always been involved in personal development for myself, and about, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, but especially about 5 years ago, I started to do that. Just accept where I was, even if I didn't want to be where I was, or in all areas of my life, right? And for me, really beginning to be okay with me. I mean,
Yes.
although I think that's a lifelong journey, right? Because
Right.
to love oneself it's a lifelong journey.
It
It's a
is.
relationship that requires work, right?
Right.
In
I
order
like how you
to,
put that.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So from was brought to my consciousness about 5 years ago was really, well, actually it was even longer than that because I was still living in Colorado at the time, was to become my own best friend. And to become, even though it sounds a little abstract for those of you maybe listening, but I think you get the gist of it. And I've said it in one of the courses actually at the FasterEFT training, was to become my own best friend, to become my own lover, and these are metaphors, right?
Right.
To be able to exude, to be able to live, to be able to step into, to show up in the world in such a way that I wanted to, right? Which is different for you, different for everybody
Right.
in general. And so that's the way with, I didn't always know how I was going to get there. I didn't always know what that was going to bring, but trusting myself to
Yeah.
know that if I was going to rely on me, I was going to trust me, I was going to trust my intuition, my gut, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And not being so afraid of failing or
Yeah.
falling down, or maybe attracting a wrong friend, or whatever it might be, just saying, okay, this is showing up because there's something I need to learn.
Yeah. I like
I
that.
didn't always have the language for it. So I like the fact that when it ties into what you're saying, because when we're okay with where we're at, like I was, then life started to really move. I mean, maybe it wasn't as fast
It
as
never
I
is.
want. It never is,
Never
but
is
it
as
got
fast as we.
me back to California.
Right.
And it also created, I had many challenges coming back to California and taking care of my elderly mom and so forth.
Yeah.
But then it took me on this other path.
Yeah.
And so, so for me, being really okay, and in fact, I was so okay, I still feel like I'm my own best friend. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I really like being alone. Like I need
Yeah.
alone time too. So
Right.
I just wanted to say, even though I wanted connection with people, like now I have connection with you and I have connection with so many other people, but I think it's because partly I was my own best friend. I was my great connection with myself, thus attracting then later on a bunch of you that are just so good to me and are my group, are my tribe.
Yeah. So that's the order, right? So you became your own best friend first, then you're able to attract your tribe and your friends and relationship, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And I liked how you talked about you didn't know how it was going to happen. So letting go of the timing of it and the how, right? Like, because then again, when we want things fast, then we're sending out a message saying things are going too slow, and we're going to attract things slowing down, or we're going to attract what we think we perceive more things to be slower, and that's just building momentum on that, and that kind of, let's say, blocks the law of attraction of what we want, So there's this other thing about, you hear about people, let's say a woman trying to become pregnant, and when she
I've had
stops,
many clients
right?
like that.
And then when they stop trying, it happens.
Yeah.
That's the law of attraction. So what
Great
or
point.
right? Or
Yeah.
even finding a
Partner.
partner, you
Mm-hmm.
stop trying and it happens. So because when we're trying, it's usually coming from not always though, but it's usually coming from a neediness place, and we're getting in our own way. So now there's another thing I wanted to mention also about trusting that what's coming up for us currently, because here's this thing. Things always seem to take longer for us because we think, number one, we know what we want, and we know that we think we're ready for it now.
And I want to piggyback on that one.
Okay,
Go
good.
ahead. Yeah.
And so there's this thing about the idea that the things that are coming up. So here's what I think. I think that we put out the intention of what we want, or even goal of what we want.
Right.
And then the experiences that come up for us are helping us become the person we need to be to get what we want. And we think we're ready for it now. And actually, well, you kind of have to go through this, and you have to go through this, and you have to go through this. So now here's another thing. How am I experiencing these things that I'm going through. Okay, so let's use an example. Let's say I want to attract, right now I'm married, so I don't know why I keep using this experience, but let's just say I'm
No,
single.
but you know why you're bringing it up? Because most people, and I think it's a great example, most people want a partnership. So it's
Okay,
perfect.
so it's good. Yeah, okay. All
I
right,
think
so
it's perfect because I want to piggyback on that one.
okay, good. So remember what you're going to say. So
I hope
let's
so. I need to
say,
write it down.
I want to attract a partner. So, and I'm ready for that partner now. So then I go to a bar and I meet someone and I start dating someone and I like this about her, but she does this. And then we break up and then 2 years later, I'm still having experiences of dating and not it being the one. Now, here's the thing. Each one of these people that I dated is helping me figure out what I don't want, is helping me be more focused on what I do want, is helping me become the person I need to be to attract that one, right? And so what am I doing during those experiences and those dates in that 2-year period? Am I resisting it? Am I thinking, oh, this law of attraction is not working. What's wrong with my life? What's wrong with me? Or am I having fun on these dates? Am I being light and easy and going, okay, I'm just here to have fun and experience things and trust the timing of that one is out there.
I love it.
It's right. It's that feeling of trust, meaning it's out there and I know it's happening and I'm just going to have fun along the way, or I need that girlfriend. I'm going to make it happen. And what's wrong with this date? And that makes that whole journey harder. So anyway.
No, definitely. And thank you for bringing that up because it's a perfect segue to,
okay.
let's see if I can make a statement and then maybe a question can be weaved. So this is something I've been contemplating about. It's one of the things that I've noticed is that I've seen this in my clients, but the piece that I was missing was sort of the affirmations and the law of attraction with this, is that talking about the partner, you have a list maybe of what your ideal partner would look like,
right,
that benefits you. When you say, attractiveness, for example, or
right,
that's whatever that means to the individual. But what I've encountered is that when that person actually shows up, even if it's, okay, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Even when that person shows up, one of the things that a lot of people have, I don't know, I'm just going to call it a spade. It's delusional to think that when your partner comes up that fits all the criteria, let's just say,
right,
that there are going to be no obstacles, that there aren't going to be any adjustments, and that when there are adjustments, or you see a personality quirk in that person, that
yes.
all of a sudden it's like, I'm looking for, this is not the right person for me, so to speak. It takes emotional maturity to understand that one needs to give the relationship an opportunity to grow. And so I hear too often people, and sometimes I work with millennials, and I hear this a lot in millennials, it's like, oh, that person does this, and it's like, well, you can still communicate. You can still try to find either a compromise or some form of, I don't know what the question would be, Mark, but if you want to talk about that, it's like, my question is, it's a rhetorical question. It's like, do you really recognize?
Oh God.
Do you really recognize the partner that you have so wanted to attract, that you're so ready?
Yeah.
And yet it's in front of you, and
it's not every perfect.
Because the trigger, I'm sorry, one more thing. This is actually where I wanted to go. The trigger, that's the word I was missing. It's like your partners are going to trigger you.
Right.
People trigger you, and it's not a big deal. You just, of course, if you can't resolve it, that's a different issue.
Right.
But there's some work associated. I know I don't want to use the word work, but there is, for lack of a better one, there is some work. There's adjustment. There's like, okay, well, I don't like this, but let me tap on it, or let me use a modality. And of course we use tapping. to figure out what that is. What is that thing? Is it me being insecure? Maybe I don't like that person who's a little bit more boisterous socially, or, oh, wow, I didn't know that person liked dancing or singing or something. And then just look within and say, but this person fits my criteria. Am I just going to shun that person, or just say, oh, forget it? So I guess the question is that we need to be aware. I think we need to step up in our game, in our personal development, and stop giving up on relationships.
Yeah.
Just because we have some triggers.
I like that.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really good. And, Robert talks about the lower model of the world and the upper model of the world, right? And the lower model of the world is, right, you do this to me. Yeah. So let's say I attract
victim
mentality. I attract somebody and she wants to go dancing too much, and she says this and it triggers me. She says these, I don't know, she's boisterous and she says these things and they trigger me. So I guess if I'm living in that lower model of the world, I'm going to say, she's doing this to me and she's this way, and break up with her. She's not the right one. Move on to the next, try to find the next one.
On and on and on. Yeah.
On and on and on. Very good, right? So if I'm living in the upper model of the world, I say I'm responsible for my reaction to you. So if I'm triggered, I'm going to look at that and say, this is a tapping opportunity, right? This is the opportunity to see, well, what is it that triggers me? Why oh yeah, she's like my mom. He reminds me of my mom. My mom used to tell me what to do and I hate it, right? So then I'm just going to, I have that opportunity to go and look at that and rewrite experiences with my mom and make peace with my past. And so there's another thing you bring up also, is like, how do you know, when it's the one.
Well, how do you recognize? I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. That wasn't, because I actually wrote this down and I forgot to bring in the paper here into the room, but I know.
Man, that's all right.
But it's more, the question is more, it's rhetorical, and it's actually the closed-ended question. Do you recognize?
Right.
Do you recognize the partner, in this case, the partner, right?
Yeah.
Or the job? Because I see a lot of people complain immediately, which
right.
we all have a tendency to complain, but it's, again, going back to the upper model of the world and looking at it as, I'm going to take responsibility for my emotions and what I'm thinking. But the question, I guess, really is, do you really recognize it? You have all these things that you want for the most part. And because people have their life and experiences and so forth. Does that help? I don't know.
Yeah. And here's a good way, I think a good way to kind of be able to recognize it is, again, it's that priority thing. So what am I doing every day? Am I tapping on myself? Am I meditating? Let's say, am I working to feel better? Am I taking care of myself emotionally? Am I going on walks? Am I working to feel good every day? So if I'm doing that work, and that's upper model of the world work. That's working on myself instead of trying to change somebody else. If I'm doing that, connecting with myself, doing that work, then what happens is my vibration rises and I'm getting inspiration that's in alignment with what I want. Mm-hmm. So now that inspiration, or those nudges, or those thoughts about this person is better guidance. It's guidance from a higher vibration instead of guidance from a lower vibration. Mm-hmm. So let me say it in a different way. If I'm not doing that work every day and I meet this girl and I'm just kind of ornery and I'm just kind of in a bad mood and I'm just not checking in with myself, I'm more apt to blame her, and then I might get a quote inspiration or urge to break up with her. So I don't recognize that she's the one because I'm living in the lower model of the world and I'm not doing the work on myself. So now the other example is, if I'm working on myself, checking in with myself on a daily basis, and then I get an inspiration, she might not be the right person. And there might be a time where I might need to break up with her, totally. So if I'm, but I don't like the idea of, I'm with you as far as like giving up too early and making a quick assessment and then just, thinking this is wrong because I'm triggered. I'm with you on that as far as,
Yeah.
doing that work. So again, doing that work is going to give you the clarity, and tapping, working on yourself, and doing a daily process every day is going to give you the clarity on what to do on your
I
next
agree.
move. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well said. I'm glad you, kind of ended with that, because I do see a lot of times people end up complaining. And again, I'm not saying complaining itself. Once we catch it, we want to kind of pull back and then work on ourselves again, but just overall, I just have a tendency to see that, if it doesn't fit, because we never know how positive influence we can be on people.
Right.
We just never know. And, I do also believe that a lot of us, or most of us, are here to, we're all kind of teachers in a way, right? And we can always help each other, if we're looking at humanity. I mean, that's just kind of my loose perspective, so you just never know how you're positively going to influence people. You might not like a certain behavior or a certain habit somebody, and you're dating them, or you're friends with them, and you just never know how you can really help another individual. So yeah. So that's really
It's
cool.
like the same example could be like a job. I get a job and,
Yeah,
oh
I
my
was
God, it's
thinking
not
that too.
right. That's
Yeah,
not what I thought. So am I going to quit right away?
exactly.
Or am I going to tap on myself, work
That's
on
right.
myself? Like, okay, what are the positive aspects of this job? How can I make this better? How can I reach out to my coworker? How can I see positive aspects of my boss or of this work? And that doesn't mean I'm going to stay at this shitty job forever. It might not be a
Sure.
shitty job, right?
That's right.
But it just what it is again.
There's endless possibilities.
Right. There's
When
endless
when
possibilities
we take
based off of
responsibility,
what
totally,
you're
absolutely,
based off of your stance, your attitude about it.
which
It
is
could
really
it
great.
yeah,
Attitude.
attitude,
Attitude really, when we see all these quotes about attitude, it really is. Attitude and gratitude are the two, like, really honestly, what
right?
I think it's like the train that kind of carries us while we think, while we're navigating, trying to find
Let's
a direction.
let's say, and you make a good point, because let's say I start this job and then it's not what I thought, but I work on my attitude, and then I just, okay, I'm not going to quit right away. I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to tap. I'm going to work on myself and work on my attitude every day. And then I meet somebody who's quitting that job, and they're starting their own business, and they need great people. And I was one of those great people because I had a great attitude at work. So she takes me to start this other job, and I'm,
Yeah.
so like you said, it can lead to anything
Yeah.
based off of me and my attitude and what I'm carrying inside of me.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to add that I've been working on is less seriousness.
Less
Less
seriousness.
seriousness and
I
more
work on that every day. Yeah.
Oh,
More
come
fun.
on. I think
I
you're,
do.
yeah.
It's one of my,
Well, you and I have that in common. We're a little bit more serious and
well,
yeah.
I mean, I just want to, like, you can always be less serious. There's always room to grow. I mean,
Yeah.
people won't, I don't think I'm a serious person, but I still am more serious than I want to be on a daily basis. Like every day I want, because you're looking at something and you go, oh, wait, how am I looking at this? And how am I looking at this day? And am I too serious? And yeah, so
Yeah,
that's what I work
definitely.
on.
I think that's something I've been slowly but surely, breaking through that as well, and more intentional about having fun, more
Mhm.
intentional about bringing joy into my life, and remembering that there's a quote, or I don't know who it was, Lao Tzu or something, that said, or somebody who said, you know, um, it's all about the moments.
Right.
And I have an affirmation that, like, joy is in the moment, and to remember that they're little snapshots. And so for me,
That's right.
it's just these, and then just pulling all that together. Like the other day, I was just moved. I was looking out my window and I saw some plants that I have, they were still blossoming, and I thought, wow. And I was struck by that. Right, I was moved by something so seemingly insignificant, and yet I allowed myself to feel that joy and feel that gratitude of what I was witnessing with my eyes, and
I
allowing that.
love that.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like, this is life, and this is what I want to bring into my life and I used to, when I was an adolescent, and there wasn't a lot of money when I was an adolescent. And so for me, it was always nature, going out in nature. And I kind of lost that a little bit. And, so I'm just really pulling that in. It's just a moment, or like this is a moment, right?
Yes.
Where you and I are, and I just want to relish that. And of course, Robert Smith talks about the happy journal, and he talks about gems, and gems are kind of part of these moments, right? That you can write down, or somebody smiled at you, or you just saw something beautiful for a moment, or so just write it down, just really let's capture that,
I love that. That's, my friend Gary Bodley, who channels Joshua, he talks about these moments like we're talking about right here. Cool. He says, you can, Zuzu, she wants my attention.
Zuzu, I know, totally.
He says, I look like this right now. He says he'll look at this as a spiritual experience.
Exactly.
And it's kind of a cool,
that's exactly what it is. That's right. Beautiful.
And then the other aspect is, I love how you're bringing up things. Zuzu, no.
She might want you.
I'm still going to be here. You're going to have to chill out.
She's wanting the moment. She's wanting the moment.
My moment? Okay, so how am I making this moment? Am I stressed? The old me would have she's messing up our
no, she's
interview.
Not. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, for some of you that don't know this, Mark and I are very organized type of people, and and we just said,
I'm not as organized as you
are. Oh yeah, come on, and we're just winging it, man. We're
winging. Right? All right. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Give me a high five, dude.
The older me is, I had definite perfectionist things, and I
still have some.
I still have them.
But you know what? But even that. Can't we just love ourselves through that? I mean, our perfectionism, wherever it comes out,
right.
Be a gift.
Yeah.
A gift where other people are not. And then you just fill in, why not? Why not just, and that's part of not being serious anymore. It's about saying, you know what, I'm going to take my gift of perfectionism or my critical eye. I have a really good critical eye. And of course, everybody's like, oh, that word, and that's another thing that I have a problem with. Sometimes we weigh words too much. Mm-hmm. Don't say that, although there are times where we definitely need to correct our language. I know I need to sometimes clean up my language, but not going off on a tangent. It's like, I have a critical and that serves, right? Like say I passed you something for you to read. And I said, what does this look like? And you gave me the critical, you just said, hey, this is critiquing, and you're saying, how about this or how about that? It's imperative if we're going to make progress in our business, if we're going to, sometimes we need our grammar cleaned up. We need, we're going off on a tangent. We're not making any sense. We need structure, in other words, right?
Yeah. So, no, I like that. And if
we need to love ourselves through that.
That's right. And that speaks to accepting where we are and how we are. Right. So if we have perfectionist things, and
great point,
right? We see perfectionist tendencies, and we would rather have more fun and loosen up. What do we do with that? Do we beat up on ourselves and think, oh, I'm a perfectionist? Or do we say, this is how I am right now. This is where I am. Surrender, Be okay with that. That doesn't mean we're staying there.
Right.
It's a trippy thing. Like, let's say I want to lose weight. So I look in the mirror after a shower and I'm like, oh, I'm fat. I want to go to the gym. So I'm never going to really have results from kind of self-hate, because I'm, so I might have short-term results. I might be able to lose weight and starve myself and go to the gym, and then it bounces back. So the idea is I have to love myself where I am. I have to love my body, how it looks with all the fat and all the,
and that's a whole different podcast right there.
It's definitely a whole different podcast, but it's the same exact principles.
You're right.
Same exact. So, but here's the thing. If I have a client who wants to lose weight and I say, you have to love yourself where you are, they might say, well, no, I don't want this body. I want to be thinner. And so again, people think that when you are okay with where you are and surrender to where you are and love yourself where you are and accept yourself, they think it's settling, and that means they're going to stay there. And it's quite the opposite. That's the kind of the double-edged sword, the trick, the nuance of applying this stuff. Law of attraction, FasterEFT.
I love what you just said. I think it's perfect. And I think that a lot of, I think we just aren't happy with, or not. just we in general,
Yeah.
it really is about loving ourselves. And I think that's what the woo-woo community was kind of bringing in, I think, overall. And spirituality or new age thought and things like that was
Yeah.
just really this concept, right, of loving yourself and loving where you're at, what that means. And so yeah, I think it's really important, and how we get there is it's a step by step, and it's just it's really the first step is literally accepting where you're at.
Well, what's
And
the opposite of that is beating up on yourself for where you are.
yeah,
That's the opposite of accepting.
yeah,
And so here's again what Robert brings to this self-love. To me, loving yourself, self-love is kind of older self-help. You got to love yourself. But what Robert says is love yourself by changing what you hold inside and
yeah.
changing the hurts inside. So kind of that's, again, the priority, the steps to it. How do I love myself? Well, I love myself by kind of changing what I'm holding on to first, changing these negative experiences inside of me, changing these negative beliefs. And that's a form of self-love. What am I, how am I spending?
Unless sometimes there's an impediment to that, would be that we know this from eutaptics, is that people identify, with that pain or what they're holding on to. And so they don't want to they think they want to let it go consciously,
Right.
but they don't, because there's an identity associated
Absolutely.
with that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who would I be without this?
Who would I be without,
Yeah.
fill in the blank.
Right.
Yeah. And who supports me, in
right.
this role.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. What do you think about goals? Let's talk a little bit about goals.
Yeah, so we kind of have been, just not directly.
Yeah, well, I mean, more directly, more deliberately.
More directly, yeah. So I here's a big thing, and I kind of alluded to some of this before, but we have to ask ourselves why we want something, right? So lots of times we think we want something. And again, that goes back to, are we doing it from need? Why do I want this red Porsche? Do I think it's going to fulfill me? Do I think it's going to allow me to pick up chicks? So let's say I'm
that's
super.
Like a second one. It's
right?
Like that's two goals right there.
Right. Right. Well, that's, so am I wanting this red Porsche from a feeling of insecurity and lack of self-worth? So, so sometimes what we think we want isn't what we truly want. What we truly want is this is good. This is a good point. If I don't say so myself, I'm all in my head right now. But what we can do is say, what do I think this red Porsche is going to give me? It's going to give me confidence. It's going to give me a feeling of self-worth. It's going to make me feel proud. And maybe it's going to attract a relationship. So then what I can do from there, and this is all Abraham Hicks, is how would that feel to be confident? And how would that feel to be proud of where I am and have that self-worth, and have a mate that's fun and all those things, and then conjure those feelings. So in other words, instead of trying to get that red Porsche, my goal might be to conjure those feelings. So the goals can change. So
totally, they can change.
They change. And I like the idea of changing our goals to general things, of conjuring feelings, and then that's where FasterEFT comes in, as far as if I'm trying to conjure a feeling of self-worth, but I have all these reasons not to feel self-worthy, memories, experiences, I can tap on those. And that would be my goal, is to work on myself every day to be able to conjure those feelings. So goals can be tricky, but with that said, there are some people, and I think of Robert a lot, that they know what they want and they can work towards having it, and they don't have a lot of resistance to it, and they're just and they're already aligned with it. And you see a lot of people who do big things they just go for it, and they can set goals and it works perfectly for them, right? Because they're already aligned with it and they don't have a lot of resistance to it. So goals can work, but a lot of us have to kind of do that work first. And so does everyone, actually. So does everyone. But so with goals, I believe, ask yourself why you think you want something.
Mm-hmm.
Number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, and then conjure the feeling of what you think you will get when you get that thing you want. And then that's the work. You can set a goal of conjuring that feeling of that.
I agree.
Right? Yeah.
And I do think that sometimes there's the possibility of thinking that we wanted something. And then, like you said, it's just, it either it manifests in a very different way.
Right.
That's why the how-tos, how to get there, we can actually lose our way when we're too much in the control of wanting to do it a certain way. Right.
Perfect. Yeah. So that's perfect. So also a lot of times people work towards goals of making something happen. And what you're kind of speaking to is you have a goal or an intention, and you kind of let go of the control of trying to make something happen, and then allow that journey to unfold, a journey to authentic living to unfold. And what comes up for me is for me. What comes up for me is for me. And so it might seem like it's in the way of me getting my goal, but actually it's something to look at. So it's kind of like this. It's interesting because this theme has been weaved into our whole discussion. Throughout the whole discussion is surrendering, being okay with where we are, and then at the same time achieving what we want. We're kind of talking on it in a different level. I don't know if it's, sometimes I go off on tangents and I'm not so clear.
Well, I do too. And so hopefully, and that's why in the beginning I premised that if there's something that we didn't cover, somebody's curious to know that we can answer that. But
what do you think of goals?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I was going to say that I just lost my train of thought, but because you interrupted me.
I did, didn't I? Bad mark.
Oh. I'm just kidding. So
no, you're not.
Yeah, no, you're not. It's just
yes, you are.
I really like the way Robert talks more about, this is going to sound, I don't know if this is abstract, but it's more about the affirmation.
Right. So
not the I want or I wills, but,
right.
I have, for example, I'm going to give an example of a job. Okay. I'm experiencing, or I have a successful career in banking.
Right.
I'm just kind of making that up. And so taking that, and I'm experimenting with this actually currently, which is very new to me. It's taking that phrase and seeing, how true is that? From 0 to 100, how true is that? And then tapping out any resistance with that phrase. So for me, the goals, so to speak, aren't the goals that we would think, and I use a lot of SMART goals with my clients because that's what they want. They want, the SMART is specific, measurable, attainable, relatable, timely, right? Or realistic. So the acronym for SMART is that. So I use a lot, especially in healthcare, losing weight, people wanting to lose weight and so forth. And I worked a lot with them, and it would start out with small goals that we would reach on a weekly basis. But I'm not that kind of a person. That's not Sandra's way of setting goals. Yeah. It's more doing the affirmations. It's kind of weird. Am I being abstract? Because it's kind of like I'm using, the affirmation, and then what I do is I use the tapping to see how true is that, and then all of a sudden I look at, well, when was the last time, for example, I have a successful career in banking and I have resistance, and then I'll say, well, what do I feel? So I'm making it up, of course. Yeah. I feel defeated. I feel, for whatever reason, lonely and, stupid. And then I'll ask myself, using the process, well, when was the last time? Perfect. Or earliest memory? And so once I take that affirmation and I know for sure, and then I check in on it during the day and then days after that, when I know that I feel successful in that banking career, then I feel like it's definitely more reachable.
That's really good.
So I don't know. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah. So that's good. That's what you do is you have an affirmation or a goal, and then you look, and you look at what the resistance comes up to. You can, see how true is that 0 to 100, or you can see how does that feel, and then just by asking that, can I see, oh no, I feel, like you said, nervous and whatever it is. And then how did, when's the last time I felt that way, or when have I felt that way in the past? And you can make yourself a little list of experiences and beliefs that equal the resistance to what you want. And then that's the work.
So that's my new goal setting,
right?
In a way, because the other way of the word goals, and I think Robert even said this in one of the Facebook groups, somebody was commenting and he said something about just the word goals in itself can trigger failure.
Yes, totally.
Can trigger failure. And it was like, when I read that, it was like, wow, this is like some wisdom right here. I hope people can look at, and it certainly brought me, and I was talking to one of our peers about this, and she was saying to me, yeah, I mean, as soon as I read what Robert wrote about the goals equal failure to some people, that jogged my memory of going like, no wonder I hate goals or New Year's resolutions, because they just like, really?
Sometimes they don't work out.
They don't.
And then you just, it's kind of a self-fulfilling thing of not attaining it also. Not attaining it.
But even that, sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's good.
Even the word goals, if I have a trigger on that word, I'm going to tap on that.
That's right. Exactly.
Clean it up.
And, I'll kind of just tell you a little bit about as far as me working on goals. So it's been and I'm kind of in a different place with it right now. It's interesting that we're talking about this because I'm working on things that are a little different than how I used to. So I was against goals. So what I would do is just set general positive intentions for the day.
Okay.
Right. And then also now the goals, I already know that the universe or my subconscious knows what I want. I don't have to set a goal. It's like praying. Awesome. But God or the universe or my subconscious, it already knows what I want. Knows that I want to have a fun and successful life coach business, meet a lot of people, have great experiences, and I don't have to be too specific about that. And then again, work on myself and tap on myself, and then trust what comes up and just kind of go with the flow of life. And that's been working out pretty damn good for me. I've been having some miraculous experiences and I feel so blessed. All these experiences, people I'm meeting, things that I'm doing, it's just mind-blowing. And I'm very lucky, not to say things don't come up that I don't have to tap on. But now, where I am now is like, okay, I want to start making goals because I kind of done a lot of self-work, and I kind of can tell if I have resistance to something, and I'm kind of better with my why now because I've been looking a lot of the why, and I can trust more now of why I want something and when I want something. And it's not, the red Porsche to get the girlfriend or to feel better about myself, because I've worked on that. Right. So now I'm maybe working more directly on my goals, and it still comes down to not trying to make it happen. But now it's a lot of my work. So I have something called a power walk, and I do it every day, and I'll go for a walk. And I used to do a lot of tapping, and I still do, but it's been a little bit less tapping and more conjuring the feeling of what I want.
Love it.
How would it feel if I had this thing that I wanted? And then how would that feel? And how would that feel? And then become that person, and then trust that I'm on my way. So it's my practicing the feeling and being that person. And then if any resistance comes up to that, I can tap on that. So now I'm kind of more working directly on things that I want, and it's still in a light, easy, fun way.
And, I love this whole sense, because I'm a philosopher by heart. I mean, I studied philosophy and I love it and stuff. And it really brings me, without trying to be too abstract, I want to say, I love the fact that, or at least what I was hearing from you, is it's not just about, I want, the Porsche, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the cell phones, or whatever it is. Part of my business too was helping people live rewarding, fulfilling lives also with being.
Right.
BEING, being, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that from you for some reason.
Absolutely.
Or maybe I'm just reading between the lines. I'm just hearing a lot about being.
Be, do, have. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I think I have heard of that. Yeah.
Be, do, have.
So, because we're concentrated, it's like, I want to possess things. I want to possess the person. And it's like, and again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying when I was being my own best friend, my own lover, my own daughter, my own parenting myself back to healing. Mm-hmm. Being the role of how I wanted to be treated, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I think has been
treating yourself that way.
Treating myself that way has been a huge, it's given me a lot of a lot of good things that are happening in my current life, by being that. Doesn't mean I don't have my triggers, and it doesn't mean that I don't have, she's barking. She's going like, I'm telling you, girlfriend.
No, she's saying, I like it. Go on.
I like it. Yeah, go on, man.
Preach, girl.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
so
Susie.
I just feel like, I mean, it's beautiful. I think what you're saying is really it. It's important to be that way. And especially we could do another video on self-confidence.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say that really is about also being self-confident, not arrogant or haughty or anything like that, but just saying, I'm sure of who I am. I'm sure of the way I present myself, and, sort of what's important to me and things like that. I think that's a huge factor, and it ties into the attitude as well. So I know time is closing, but let's talk lastly, because I think that I don't know if it's the cherry on top of the cake, but I really want to talk just about gratitude, because in all this comes in, I think, at least my experience is, like, I start out my mornings, even if I have some emotional pain or just some things I'm really going through, I have a place where I go, what I call my sacred space. And there I'm with myself, because I am my own best friend, my lover, my daughter, my own, etc. And I'm there, and I just open up the sacred space, and I always begin with gratitude. I've been doing it for several years now. And for me, that is really important, to just say, I'm grateful, and not just say it with words, but actually feel it. And I've noticed that the more I've practiced gratitude, the more it actually comes to me. In fact, it's come to me so much so that when I have encounters with people, let's just say something happened, and I'm grateful, because, as you've pointed out many times in our sessions, and I've heard, of course, Robert say this as well, is that it's an opportunity for us to take a look at what still needs to be healed, what still needs to be, I don't know, healed is the word that comes up.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about gratitude and how important it is.
It's really super important. And, this might be a good place to quickly talk about the Happy Journal, FasterEFT Happy Journal.
Go for it. Yep.
All right. So it's 5 aspects to the Happy Journal. 3 to 5 things. So I like it to look at it as a daily process. So 3 to 5 things or more of things to be grateful for every morning. Think about that. Or I like to do it in the morning. What am I grateful for?
Me too.
And then affirmations. What are some positive affirmations that feel good when I say them? And then there's something called positive emotional experiences. So if I like right now, if I have a great experience with Sandra, a great conversation, a great podcast with Sandra, then after, I'm going to write this down in my Happy Journal. So I have my Happy Journal's 5 sections, and I already mentioned 3 of them: affirmations, goals. I'm sorry, not goals, not yet. What I'm grateful for, affirmations, happy experiences, or positive emotional experiences. So I would write down this great experience I had with Sandra, write that down in my Happy Journal. The 4th one is goals and dreams. And that should be things that I want and dreams for my future. It also could be positive intentions for the day. What are my goals for my day? What are my general intentions for my day? And then the 5th can be gems. And you mentioned gems, things that a picture that I really like of this house, I really like it, not to fulfill me, but it'd be nice to have a nice house type of thing, or a nice quote, just little gems that I find, and I put that in my journal. So these are just kind of 5 things, and you don't have to do all 5 of them every day. I like to do 3 of them. I like to do my affirmations. I like to do.
Me too.
my gratitudes, like what you're talking about. And then general, my goals for the day or positive general intentions for the day. And it's a good way to start off the day. But gratitude's super important because like we've talked about in the past, it kind of, the more things you're grateful for, the more you're going to attract the same, right? The same types of things. And also it kind of makes you feel better. And that's what we want anyway. We want these things because we want to feel better. And so when you're grateful, it makes you feel better, doesn't it?
It totally does. And I think we have a habit, for me, and I know with just people in general, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions, but we have a habit sometimes of, especially in the beginning of our personal development, well, and throughout perhaps, that we're looking for sometimes what we don't have. We're looking for what's not going right,
Right.
what's not happening, the lacking part. And
Right.
so I had to also sort of create like, oh my gosh, so for me, the happy journal is extremely important that I go back. If someone gives me words of wisdom, I actually put it in, I put the date, the quote, everything to the best of my ability so that I can go back and say, wow, this is wonderful. If somebody that I love says something beautiful to me, I actually write it down and I go back to that when I'm feeling not, I might feel like a little bit of a, insecure, I just feel down or something like that. I'll go back and go like, oh my God, this is a great quote. This person said that I was exceptional or that I was amazing today or something, and I go back and say, yeah, there's evidence there that, so again, it's just a way for me to really look at that and be grateful that I really do have great support, great friends, and family that loves me. Yeah. So, yeah, that's great. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to gratitude? Something that you feel?
Yeah.
Share with
it's
the
just
audience. Yeah.
to piggyback on what you're saying. It's just, let's look at our day, and our day is filled with kind of negative thoughts and things and positive thoughts and things. And we want to get, lots of times when we don't do these things every day, we become addicted to negative thinking and
Totally.
limit thinking and what's going to go wrong today. And not to blame ourselves. These are because we've had past experiences where we've have hurts. And so we're protecting ourselves, keeping ourselves safe.
Totally.
So we want to kind of chip away at that, tap on it, work towards that, work towards to be more positive, more and more and more positive, have that more and more positive day than negative. And again, with the tapping, these are tools now to do that instead of just affirmations of trying to be positive, thinking happy thoughts when we have all these experiences in our past that can bog us down and that can keep these protective mechanisms happening in our life. So the happy journal is a great way to become more and more and more positive during our day. And then we create healthy habits of that because then we get better and better at it. So in the beginning, if you're not good at doing this, it can be drudgery. It could be, it won't feel natural because maybe if you're not naturally grateful for things, then it won't come naturally. And we want to build that muscle. We want to build that skill and that habit towards
I
it.
love that. And
Yeah.
I want to we'll end with that.
Okay.
Because I think that is so important. We want to build, it's like a muscle. We want to build it. It doesn't come naturally. And who's ever listening and you're struggling with that, it's just remember, it's practice. It takes a little bit of discipline and to create something new in our mind. So I think that that's a wonderful way because sometimes people do beat themselves up. I'm not feeling grateful. I don't know how to do that. And it's just, it's because of everything you said. So I love that. I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to do another one of these soon again.
Okay. So right when we end this, we'll just do another one.
Yeah. We'll just do another one.
Or
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. We'll get Robert Smith on here and stuff. And we can, I'm planning to interview him as well about affirmation. So this will be a great way to spread or to put this out. So,
cool.
I appreciate it, Mark. Any other last thoughts?
Well, yeah. Also, I'll just say, just real quick to drop a few links. If you want to learn more about FasterEFT, there is a 7-day quick free course, www.fastereft.com.
And I'll have it in there.
Okay, you'll have it. Yeah. And I got a podcast that talks about FasterEFT and the law of attraction. It's called the Tap It Out podcast. You can learn about the Happy Journal. You can learn about FasterEFT, different things like that.
And also, I've got the channel, Journey to Authentic Living, Sandra Rojo, and I am definitely transitioning my work as well. And so I'll be having more videos like this on FasterEFT and everything that has to do with neuroplasticity, neuroscience, and so forth. So be watching out for that. But
so your channel is on YouTube.
My channel is on YouTube. Yeah, okay. Journey to Authentic Living, and then my name, Sandra Rojo, Rojo. Awesome. And so I'm transitioning as well with my work, as you already know. And so it's going to be a lot more based on a lot of things like your podcast and things like that. So
right on.
Definitely. All right.
Thanks,
all right.
Sandra.
So thank you. I love this. And let's do it again soon.
Absolutely. We'll hang up and then we'll record another one right after this.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Let's just do that. Let's knock out 3 today if you want.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool.
All right, you guys have a good one. And remember, love yourselves.
That's right. Bye. See ya.
Thank you.